Sonic CD. It's a game that is so unbelievably close to being perfect and surpassing Sonic 1 as the greatest that classic Sonic has to offer on the original Genesis, but yet it is just, it's not even a large gap between a greatest game ever to absolute dog shit, no. It's just one teeny, tiny, itsy bitsy little thing. Well, two, maybe three things that really bring down the entire game as a whole. And that in of itself is incredibly impressive that this was, Sonic Team's second attempt at a Sonic game? Because depending on which development team you're following, the original Sonic team was all moved to America to work on Sonic 2, while Sega Technical Institute stayed in Japan and started work on Sonic CD. And when you look at it that way, I don't know how much of the original Sonic 1 staff was moved over to Sonic CD, or if the entirety of Sonic Team went on to Sonic 2, so depending on how you look at it, this is an unproven studio's first attempt at a Sonic game. And that is impressive that they almost completely godsmacks the original Sonic 1. In some ways, I'd argue it's a better Sonic 2 than Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Now, Sonic 2 and Sonic CD both take the exact same approach when it comes to improving upon Sonic 1. That is, honing in on one specific element that really made the first game work and going all in on it. Sonic 2 decided to focus a lot more on the spectacle and speed elements of Sonic 1. Sonic 2 goes in the opposite direction. It wants to improve and refine the platforming and exploration aspects of Sonic 1's level design. And you can immediately see that with just the opening level of Sonic CD. Instead of elongating the level, instead the level is a lot more vertical. Instead of having a traditional 2 or 3 path system where you take the upper route, it's very difficult to stay up there, but if you are good at pushing the jump button while also maneuvering quickly, the top route can be the fastest route through the level, and you can beat it relatively quickly. However, if you are bad at the game's platforming, just because you're on the top route doesn't automatically mean it's the fastest. The middle route is the perfect mix of everything. It's just holding right, it's occasionally jumping, and the bottom route is just pretty much a punishment path. You can easily do it, but now you're being forced to be good at platforming. The top route, it's mandatory to be good at the platforming and go fast on the top route to take full advantage of it. The medium route, the middle route, that's just kind of a fair mix of both, and if you fail the platforming there, well now if you fail the platforming on the bottom route, it's a quick death. Sonic CD, as from all of my playthroughs of these levels over the years, there really isn't a permanent bottom punishment path. Instead, the middle path kind of becomes the punishment path in the game. There's not really a slower, lower route that'll kill you from a death pit or an endless pit of spikes if you fail a platforming challenge. Instead, it's more of you just get longer platforming. Instead of being forced to dodge enemies and use springs to avoid bottomless pitfalls, instead, now you're just being forced to do more platforming, which forces you to get better at platforming. To the point to where I would honestly say in Sonic CD, it is faster to just run along the bottom path and be good at jumping, than to actually go out of your way to climb the level design to stay on the top path. And with Sonic CD, there's like 4 top paths. There's like 4 pathways in total through any given level. And some levels flat out forego any additional routes to get through the level. Instead, it's literally just play the level and hope you make it, good luck, don't die. And that is especially the case in the worst zone in the game, that being Wacky Workbench. The gimmick of Wacky Workbench, as this is one of only 2 gimmick levels in the entire game, is simple. The ground is bouncy. If you touch the ground, you bounce up. Now that doesn't sound bad, and it really isn't that bad. What's bad is the level design, because the only way through the level is to bounce on the ground and then make it through tiny, narrow little gaps around the bouncy floor to then proceed through the level. But the problem is, with the bouncy floor, it shoots you so high up into the sky that you hit the ceiling of the level, and now you're stuck having to do platforming going down while avoiding level damage from electricity, avoiding enemies, while holding onto your rings, and if you slightly misstep on a platform or mistime your jump during the very brief moments where the floor isn't bouncy, you just fuck up and now you're stuck having to do the same platforming again in reverse to get back onto the bottom of the level just so that way you can make it through a tiny little fucking gap. And it's an incredibly annoying level, and maybe on your first playthrough you'll realize you gotta take it low and slow to get through it, until you realize, no, you're pretty much just at the mercy of the level. You know, it's not like messing up a platforming challenge will then drop you on the bouncy floor, now you'll be stuck pinballing around for eternity. No. Aside from like one or two segments in like Act 2, the entire level is just you're just at the whims, having to bounce up and down, and it's awful. It is just 3 fucking levels, Act 1, Act 2, and then part of Act 3 with a boss fight at the end. And the boss fight's not even that bad. If anything, I think the boss fight kinda uses the floors decent enough. But the problem with Wacky Workbench is that level is just so fucking awful that it flat out ruins any playthrough of Sonic CD for me. And that is saying something. Now, I don't know if I fully brought this up or not in the Sonic 1 video, but Sonic 1, you could theoretically beat that game on a casual run-through in like 30 to 40 minutes. Sonic CD, with how that game is designed, if you were to get all the time stones, I genuinely believe you could beat the entirety of Sonic CD 100% in 35 minutes. Why such a specific number? I don't know. 30 feels too low, 40 feels way too long, so 35. Because the average playthrough of Sonic CD, unless you get stuck in Wacky Workbench or stuck in some other level, like Stardust Speedway between 2 springs, unable to find the correct pathway to continue through the level, which is another small problem I have with this game's level design, where too many of the levels are too windy in and out of different pathways to the point to where... Take Stardust Speedway as a perfect example. 1 minute you're running through and you're doing just fucking fine, but then you hit a wall with a bunch of springs that tells you to go back the other way. Well, you do that sends you downwards, and then you get shot to the left some more, and now you're stuck in some springs, and now you're completely lost. You try going to the right, you keep running into the same obstacles, you try going left, it keeps sending you right, and now you're confused, and now you want to cry as the game times you over. What I'm getting at is, instead of making the levels longer, they made them more vertical. And when they realized, oh shit, you know, now the levels are the same length as Sonic 1, just now they're taller, players are gonna miss all of this amazing level design we put barely any thought into. Well, I know what to do, Johnson. What we'll do is we'll put purposeful roadblocks and just fucking dead ends that cause you to backtrack through the level, and then cause you have to go up through the level to make it over the roadblock that we put there. That's a great idea, Johnson. Yes. It's a great idea. We should do that. Put random roadblocks everywhere that forces the players to interact with the verticality of our levels instead of making it genuinely rewarding. That's a great idea, Johnson. Why, yes, it is us, the 3 Johnsons, the game developers of Sonic CD. And I do think if you're just running through the levels from start point to end point, I genuinely think that these levels on average are shorter than Sonic 1's. Now, a good player playing through Sonic 1 could beat a lot of levels at just a minute or just under a minute. But I feel like an average player who's not even that good at Sonic CD can beat almost every level aside from Wacky Workbench under a minute. I think the only time in the game where this genuinely becomes an issue where you physically can't have a casual player just beat any of the levels under a minute is maybe Stardust Speedway and Metallic Madness, just because those are much longer levels, since those are the final 2 zones and those pathways are a lot more windy and almost maze-like, which I do think in Stardust Speedway and Metallic Madness, well, at times the pathways can intertwine a little too sloppily, which leads to you getting lost in the maze-like level design for those stages. I do think in Metallic Madness specifically, while yes, I've spent lots of times getting lost in that level, I also think that is one of the few cases where the more vertical level design was properly utilized. Because now I'm exploring the top path, the bottom path, the middle path, I'm running everything in between them, just to find that one fucking exit, because there's only one through line through the level. And the through line is actually pretty simple. All you have to do is just slowly navigate your way through the pathways and boom, just straight shot to the exit. But because I've never properly taken the time to learn that pathway, I always struggle a little bit with Metallic Madness, which punishes me for just holding right and running through the levels blindly without ever thinking about it, and rewards me for taking time to get good at the game and genuinely learn the level design. That is good! That's good game design! That's what Sonic 1 was all about. You get punished for running around like a chicken with your head cut off. Just look at fucking Marvel Zone. That is the thesis statement of why Sonic 1's level design is so good. You are punished for thinking all Sonic is speed. And here in Sonic CD, you are punished for thinking all Sonic is speed. And you are rewarded for being patient and learning, and in turn, earning your speed. It's a... fuck, what did I step on? I may or may not have just stabbed my foot with a shard of a broken pen. There was a pen on the floor, and I stepped on it, and now there's a shard of pen stuck in my... I pulled it out. I put a band-aid on it. I'll be fine. What was I talking about earlier? Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, Sonic CD. In this one instance, I feel like the game remembers what Sonic 1 was trying to teach us about the franchise and what we can expect moving forward, about being patient and getting the reward of going fast by learning the game and learning all of its pitfalls and other obstacles that it wanted us to be patient and learn about before just running blindly forward. Because blindly running forward kind of gets you in hot water. And if anything, you can kind of say it's kind of a metaphor about life, where just running blindly forward gets you in trouble. And taking time, sitting down, and genuinely planning out your actions ahead of time can help you. So learning of what comes next helps you not make mistakes and move forward almost with ease. The speed and ease of life is the reward. Why am I trying to turn a review of Sonic CD into a TED Talk about life and planning? That's... what the fuck? But for the rest of Sonic CD, everything before Wacky Workbench, I feel like for most players, casual or expert, or even new players, the very big, maze-like vertical level design almost goes entirely unused. Because again, these levels are so easy to just brute force, you find yourself clearing them in 35 seconds, even though you might have gotten lost in the maze and just kind of stumbled along the exit, you know? It doesn't really feel like that challenge and reward only comes in at the end of the game, as opposed to throughout the entire game. In other words, the game's just way too fucking easy for the majority of it, which leads to the game literally only being 30 minutes, unless you decide to collect 50 rings and take them to the end of any Act 1 or 2 throughout the game, which, if you jump into the big ring, brings you to the Sonic CD special stages. This time we're flavored on LSD and UFO conspiracy theories. You're on a time limit, and Sonic the Hedgehog's first attempt at 3D gameplay, well, pseudo 3D. Run around a little square Doom-like arena, destroy all the UFOs. If you run out of time, hit the UFOs that spawn and give you extra time. Don't touch the waters that make your time deplete faster. and destroy all like 6 to 8 UFOs, and you get yourself a time stone. Not a chaos stone with a time stone. There are 7 of them, but after collecting all 7, literally all you get is the good ending. Now, to talk about this game's main fucking gimmick, and the reason why very few levels in this game have an actual gimmick. Time travel. Pass a signpost that either says past or future, run till you get weird time sparkles behind your ass, and teleport into the future or past, and now you're in a slightly different, tweaked version of that same level. It's the general same level layout, but maybe platforms, rings, enemies, item monitors are all placed different. Sometimes, if you go into a bad future, the level will be harder. You go into past, typically the level is easier, and if you manage to find and destroy the robot generator in the past, as well as the Metal Sonic projector, go into the present, not only is the level now easier, because all of the enemies will be destroyed, but if you then go further into the good future, you have an even easier time through the level, which barely fucking matters, because you can just run straight through the entire game and get the time stones, ignoring the time travel, which is where the entirety of the vertical level design comes into actual play. Because, once you go into the past, you then have to explore the level design to find the robot generator and destroy it. Destroyed in Acts 1 and 2, and Act 3 will become a good future. If you failed to get all the time stones, but did succeed in destroying all the robot generators, you do get the good ending to the game, which is awesome! But if you miss just one, you still get the bad ending, and even then this is entirely trivialized, because you can just get all the time stones like a traditional Sonic game. But at the same time, this is really fucking cool, because, it kind of gives you an option on how you want to beat the game. Like, let's take a game like Sonic Heroes, for example. To face Neo Metal Sonic and in turn beat the game and get the final ending, you have to collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds in the special stages. Now that's cool, that's pretty traditional like a classic Sonic game. But imagine if alternatively you could replay every single level getting every single A rank. And then do that again on the challenge versions of those stages after beating all 4 character campaigns. That's cool and all, you know, that sounds like fucking hell, but, you know, at least it gives you an option on how you want to completely 100% the game and get the true fucking ending. So, variety is a slice of life. It's kind of cool that you have an option on how you can beat the game and get the game ending, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, because all it is like a 2-second cutscene that says you are cool. You're right, I am cool, and you are not. Meh. While Sonic the Hedgehog 2 had Miles Tails per hour introduced, to kind of give the game a little brother mode, just plug in a second controller, let them control Tails a little bit, they might be able to help you out in boss fights, or maybe even a special stage or two. In Sonic CD, we don't have that luxury because Tails doesn't exist. Because this game was in development at the same time as Sonic 2, and was, I believe, meant to come out before Sonic 2, because it was pretty much just an asset flip of Sonic 1. But instead of Tails, we do have Amy Rose introduced as Sonic's love interest, even though this goes absolutely fucking nowhere in the series because Sega didn't want Sonic to be like Mario. So instead, it's more of like a little sister, big brother thing with, like, think of it like step-siblings, where they really want to. And then, yeah, you know, so you can see why Sega kind of backpedaled on Amy Rose being a love interest, because with that entire analogy that I just ranted on for like 2 hours going over why that's so fucked. The other thing that they introduced was Metal Sonic, who's kind of the, well, he's Metal Sonic. He's meant to be Sonic's complete robotic opposite. While Sonic is fleshy and human and fast, Metal Sonic is robot and dead and also fast, so he's not the complete opposite. But yeah, just a cool robotic version of Sonic, which ironically, both Sonic 2 and Sonic CD had the exact same ideas, just in different ways, and they didn't know of each other's existence, which I find really fascinating. That two development teams within the same corporate brand didn't know that they were both trying to do the exact same idea. Just slightly different to play to the strength of their game. Which actually, thinking about it, you would think something like Silver or Mecha Sonic would play better in Sonic CD, since that game's boss fights are a lot more slow and easy and kind of pointless. Especially since all of them go down in like 3 hits, except for maybe the final boss who takes 4 for some reason. And Metal Sonic, all you have to do is race him, and so with Sonic 2 being a much faster game, you'd think having Metal Sonic, which is a foot race against the robot, would make more sense, but no. I don't know. It's kind of weird, because I would think Silver Sonic would make more sense in Sonic CD. Again, that being a big, clunky, slow robot, and Sonic 2 being the game that tries to go fast, fast, fast. But that's just an interesting little thing that I noticed while making this video. So that's kind of cool. So yes, run through 2 acts, and then like a 4-second third act, fight a boss that goes down in 2 fucking hits, race Metal Sonic, collect all the time stones, or don't. It really doesn't matter. And congratulations, you beat Sonic CD in like half an hour. If you bought this game on Steam, a full 100% playthrough with all achievements you could literally refund within an hour. Fuck needing 2 hours to refund a game. You can refund that shit in 30 minutes. That's insane to me. But it is worth mentioning that for a very long time, Sonic CD was kind of a cryptid Sonic game in a way. That being that it came out on the Sega CD in 1993, and unless you owned a Sega Genesis and a Sega CD, which was in kind of hot water back in the day because of Night Trap, essentially becoming the game that led to the creation of the ESRB. So I highly doubt you had a Sega CD because it didn't sell very well. And it was in a lot of hot water, so I doubt your parents would ever let you own one, let alone get one for you for Christmas. Especially since it was like, what, like $200 back in the day? Like nowadays, fuck, you might as well just buy a PS6. But all that being said, Sonic CD was just kind of stuck in weird limbo as the Sonic game you might have heard of, but you're never gonna play. Until Sega jumped ship into a third-party developer and released Sonic Gems Collection on the GameCube. Where then, and only then, for the first time ever, could you play Sonic CD without a Sega CD. And honestly, this is kind of a bad first impression for the game. Especially for most people, as this game has a lot of weird issues with it. For example, I might as well bring it up now, the soundtrack. The first 2 Sonic games were composed by the same people, like the head singer/composer for the band Dreams Come True in Japan. I'm so sorry that I've forgotten your name, and I'm so sorry that I'm too lazy to look it up. So the same people who did Sonic 1 came back and immediately did Sonic 2. Sonic CD just had to pull a Sonic CD and can be completely fucking weird. So we have the original Japanese soundtrack, which is, it's safe to say everybody loves it, and this is the superior soundtrack, there's no argument about it. And then when it came to port the game over to the West, I don't know what we were smoking in 93, but it must have been good shit, because we had decided we needed an entirely original soundtrack exclusive to us, the greatest nation never. I say that after the 4th of July. I'm sorry. Please don't drone strike me, Obama. Wait, are Obama drone strike jokes even relevant nowadays? I don't know. There's a war going on somewhere with drone strikes. Anyways, back to Funny Hedgehog Man. I don't really like the US soundtrack. There's some good tunes in here. Primarily, Stardust Speedway Metal Sonic fight's pretty good. But aside from that, there's hardly any good music except for Sonic Boom, which is the superior song, or vocal song, between the 2 versions of the soundtrack. I'm sorry, Toot Toot Sonic Warrior. I'm sorry. That is just what... I can't even really get past the name. What the fuck is a Toot, and why is there two of them? The fuck is a Sonic Warrior? Is that a thing in Japan I don't know about? Someone get your parent on the phone and ask him what the fuck was happening. But if you were not born yet, like I wasn't, or if you were too poor and unfortunate to not own a GameCube and a copy of Sonic Gems collection, you were in luck, as in 2011, on PS3, Xbox 360, I don't know about Wii, but probably, and your mobile cell phone, you could play a remake of Sonic CD made exclusively for cell phones, which was then also ported over to PS3 and 360. This version of the game is kind of cool. It added Tails into the game as a playable character after beating it. You have 4 save files, which, believe it or not, Sonic CD did have save files, which was pretty cool. And, that's pretty much all this version of the game did. It fixed a lot of the load time issues from the original game. And as far as other differences, I believe that's it. Oh, you can pick between which version of the soundtrack you want to listen to. So, aside from rips of the soundtrack on like YouTube or something, I think this is the only way that 90% of Americans actually listen to the good Sonic CD soundtrack, if I'm not mistaken. So that's cool. Okay. But overall, looking at it on its own, away from anything else, how good is Sonic CD? Well, I'd say it's pretty damn good. Is it incredibly short? Yes. Is it incredibly easy? Yes. Does Wacky Workbench suck complete fucking ass and the game would genuinely be better without it? Yes. Actually, no. Scratch that. Triple yes on that alone. Is Sonic CD a fun game? And honestly, if it weren't for the short level design being way too easy and the Wacky Workbench, would this be like 5 times better than Sonic 1? Okay, well, maybe not 5 times. Whoa. What are we, Sonic Adventure? But no, Sonic CD is incredible to me. It's a really good Sonic game. But at the same time, I fully understand if you look at this game and just kind of roll your eyes at it. As to me, this is the definition of a mid-Sonic game that you either find so good you nut in your pants or so bad you shit in your pants. There is no such thing as an in-between when it comes to Sonic CD, or at least not what I found. You either desperately love this game like I do, or you desperately hate this game like I don't. Now, of course, I am completely fucked up in the head as something is terribly wrong with me, as I am able to, despite loving this game, take a step back and look at all of its flaws. But even after doing that, I still like Sonic CD, which means I would put this over Sonic 2 sometimes. Sometimes I'd say it's better, sometimes I'd say Sonic 2 is better. But I will never say it's better than Sonic 1. You can make the argument that possibly objectively it's better, but I would still say, even with improved gameplay and quicker level designs, that's still not a genuine improvement, as it kind of throws out everything Sonic 1 built on, despite Sonic CD being a direct sequel that tries to improve upon the game, and it hardly improves upon anything. Aside from maybe the graphics and the music, and it's nowhere near an improvement on the bosses. The bosses are actively worse. Some of the worst in the series, I'd say. So yeah, with that, fuck. This is now the 3rd time in a row I'm giving a classic Sonic game like a 9 out of 10. So, well, I guess it's time to piss everyone else off with the Sonic 3 video. Goodbye, everyone. I'll see you all at my funeral.